Hello, and thank you for joining me on another one of my lifestyle series videos. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dimitri, and I'm an American expat living in the Philippines. Here, I'm going to share with you how my life is going living in Metro Manila. If you find this video entertaining, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And now, sit back, relax, and enjoy as I take you on a journey of my daily life as a time-lapse traveler.
That's one of the things that you will only find in the Philippines.
Alright, well, I'm back on the number 9 bus. I'm going the other direction. My route is going to be a little different since I'm not going straight home. I'm still going to be doing a lot of stops, going to Rizal Park right now, and hopefully Intermotors after that.
Nope.
One problem I definitely have to notice is that my legs really do not fit over here. My back is all the way to the back of the seat, and yeah, this is how I'm sitting right now. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Metro Manila Mega Commute Tour series. As always, we're starting just where we left off at the end of the previous episode, where I was leaving the Antipolo area to do some more sightseeing, since there were still so many hours left in the day, and I wanted to really maximize my opportunity to do as much exploring as possible. After taking the same number 9 bus for the ride back to the city, I had to switch at the Anonas stop to the LRT Line 2, the light rail transit. This service is operating very much like the MRT, Metro Rail Transit line, that I took in the first episode of the series in the second leg of my trip to Antipolo. If you haven't seen that yet, I strongly suggest that you watch that video as well as the next two after that to get a better appreciation of how this jam-packed day went for me. I really love this kind of connection between the train cars, which goes a long way to maximize the space for the commuters during busy rush hour peak times, when all the space is used up by people getting to their destinations. Just think of how many more people these trains can hold thanks to having this wide corridor instead of the usual closed-off design, blocked off by a door and rail car coupling device, where you are essentially stuck in the car that you enter, no matter how filled up the neighboring car happens to be. Not only was this off-peak hours, but also a non-working day, coupled with the fact that the pandemic regulations were still limiting how many people can get on at one time. Oh, here I am back on the LRT. This time I'm going towards Rizal Park, at about 10 stops or so to Pureza station. As you can see, there were very few other riders sharing this commute with me. If you want to see what a truly congested train car looks like, please check out a link in the top right corner of the screen. You can also find the link in the description. The second half of that video will give you a taste of what riding the trains in Manila can really be like. One thing is for sure though, rush hour or not, these trains are very modern and well maintained, especially compared to the overbloated century-old train system in New York City that I was so used to taking back when I lived there. Not to get too much ahead of myself, but I'm really looking forward to showing some of what that looks like when I will eventually get to visit the Big Apple and show my old stomping grounds of where I used to live for close to 30 years before moving to live in the Philippines some 3 years ago. Arguably, the most prominent location in all of Manila that I still haven't been able to see yet is the Malacañang Presidential Palace, which is much like the White House in Washington, D.C. Even though it's not known to be the most picturesque location, as a full-time resident of the Philippines living in the capital city, I felt weird that I have never been to see the location of the center of power in this country. Being such a prime destination, I was pretty surprised to learn that there is no direct route to the Presidential Palace, and to get all the way there, I will have to transfer to yet another mode of transportation after getting off the train. But to even get to the right neighborhood, I will still have to transfer to yet another mode of transportation after getting off the train. That, however, will prove to be a new layer of scavenger hunt, since I was really not going to cheat by simply picking up a taxi ride. In addition to that, I really had the urge to explore this neighborhood at least a little bit, since there is no way to know when would be the next time that I would have a chance to be here again, and this day was all about visiting places around the city that I would not normally go to. Just like all other neighborhoods I've been to inside Metro Manila, as well as any other city or town I visited in the Philippines, rich or poor, what they all have in common is the sense of kindness and goodwill that can be seen on people's faces. I know that at least some of that comes from me being a foreigner, and people generally like to see a fresh face, even if partially covered by a surgical mask. Still, my eyes give away my smile, which cannot be hidden, especially with the treatment I get from the Filipino people, no matter where I go. Now it's time for me to continue my journey, with hopes of finding a more local style of getting the rest of the way to the Malacañang Presidential Palace. Getting a second jeepney ride for the day wasn't an option. Instead, I found this non-motorized tricycle, which is a first for me.
Alright, here's another mode of transportation that I haven't used yet. The tricycle with the foot pedal tricycle.
One thing that's a common issue is the space for me to fit inside some of the compartments that are designed for Filipinos, few of whom are over 6 feet tall. So, having to duck my head everywhere I go is a common occurrence.
This constant problem with the headspace. Yeah, that's kind of what I have to deal with in a lot of places where I go to here in the Philippines. Headspace and leg space, well, especially the headspace.
The top speed isn't all that great, but I definitely have to give these drivers a lot of credit for doing what they do. And in this way, I was able to enjoy some sightseeing, although not exactly in plush comfort. The worst thing about this is ruining my posture. Worse than it already is. So, I certainly wouldn't be using this method of getting around all that often.
Alright, salamat po.
As can be expected, the area around the home of the president has restricted access, so the driver of the tricycle had to drop me off some distance away for me to walk the remaining few blocks through this surprisingly very quiet neighborhood. The real unfortunate thing, however, was that I didn't specify that I wanted to get to the front entrance of the building, and so instead, I was directed to what turned out to be the rear of the walled-off compound without much to see. Worse yet, even filming there wasn't allowed, as told to me by this friendly guard. So, without wasting more time, I headed out to what will be the last destination of my sightseeing tour for the day. This takes me right back to the scarcity of public transportation options, and looking at Google Maps for roads available, I realized that I had quite a lot of walking still ahead of me before I could get anywhere without calling for a taxi. On the plus side, it means that I had a chance to see more of the city streets in the neighborhood that I haven't been to before, and to see the kind of lifestyle that can be found here, at least from the outside. Clean drinking water isn't a given for many people here, so this purified drinking water dispenser meant for larger containers is probably getting a lot of use here. It's great to see people using bicycles to get around, and kids having fun with their skateboards on these well-maintained roads. I love seeing that the kids here are keeping an overall healthy lifestyle, as opposed to staying at home to play video games. There aren't a lot of playgrounds and parks that can be found for outdoor activities in this large metropolis. As much as bicycles and small electric scooters are taking over the roads, the massive increase of cars still outpaces the road space available for them. Examples of that are everywhere. Most people still have to commute every day to and from work, as working remotely is an option for only a very small fraction of the workforce. As long as that remains the case, and the population continues to grow at the same pace, it is no wonder that the government of the Philippines has plans to move its headquarters away from the Metro Manila and take it to Clark City, a short distance up north from Manila. There's lots of hope that this will greatly alleviate traffic congestion in at least some neighborhoods. However, there still haven't been any public updates on that for a while, and there are doubts if it will really happen. In the meantime, I still have a lot of walking to do in order to get close enough where I can get to the next leg of the trip in getting to Rizal Park, since there don't seem to be any buses or jeepneys that go there. These loot box machines that tease passersby with their prizes sure do look attractive, but they're really designed as a colorful scam to steal people's money. As the saying goes, not all that glitters is gold. Would be interesting to see just how much attention they attract during peak hours though. Now that I was making progress towards the part of Old Manila, from where it was easy to reach Ermita, the location of Rizal Park, it was at this point that I found this really cool tricycle driver. This guy was so much more personable and talkative compared to most others. We had a chance to chat for a while, and I really wish that I could have gotten to know him better. Now I feel kind of bad about this, but I promised to give him a shout out in this video, as he was pretty excited to get into my vlog. Unfortunately though, I accidentally deleted his name after saving it on my phone. So dude, if you're watching this video, please leave me a comment with your name in it, and I'll be sure to make it up to you by giving a proper shout out in my next video after this one. My longtime viewers know that I don't really do shout outs on my channel, but this guy deserves a special mention, especially after we both shared the load of pushing his tricycle into the gas station when he was running out of fuel during our ride. At that time, paying 66 pesos a liter was already getting expensive, but now with the war going on in Ukraine, fuel prices are spiking way up above that. This Ayala bridge crossing over the Pasig River is commemorating today's holiday, the EDSA People Power Revolution, and leading into the SunTrust condominium complex, one of the countless that can be seen built all around the city. Then rounding the corner onto Taft Avenue, and seeing even more construction going on. When I saw the locked gate, I thought that I'm hitting yet another dead end. Refusing to give up so easily, we made our way around the block, and thankfully, that side of the park was open to the public. And oh, what an opening it is! I knew there was no way that this park could be closed on a day like today, and I was proven right when I saw a large gathering of people circled around this gorgeous fountain where the waters dance to the sound of music, which unfortunately I can't play here due to them being original copyrighted songs. But believe me when I tell you that it made for a beautiful and festive atmosphere. I initially planned to finish the day in one of my favorite places in all of Metro Manila, that being the historic walled city of Intramuros. Given the current schedule, however, I figured there was no point to attempt that, and I just decided to make the most out of my visit at Rizal Park. Little did I know that I would see such an eye-popping spectacle in celebration of the People Power Revolution holiday. This fountain show, accompanied by music, lights, and even some fire effects, proved that this was really the best time to come to the park when the sun had just come down, but before it became dark, so that I can share this with you here. It reminded me a lot of the famous fountain in front of the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, just on a smaller scale. The thing that I liked here and what really stood out to me in particular was the different types of fountain nozzle, spewing out water in a number of different ways to add some much needed variety. And what would otherwise have looked like a one-trick pony looked quite remarkable to all the people watching this amazing colorful show of lights and sounds. I previously toured the nearby hallowed grounds where Dr. Jose Rizal was executed at the order of the occupying Spanish administration, who were trying to hold on to the Philippines as a crown jewel of their vast colonial empire. That, however, deserves a video on its own, which I will certainly edit as a future project, and I promise to treat it along with the memory of this national icon with the most reverence and respect that his legacy deserves. This monument for the man who was credited for being the catalyst of the revolution against Spanish rule that lasted for 333 years proudly stands in front of this 150-foot flagpole, which is the highest in the country, meant to honor Dr. Jose Rizal with all the pride and admiration of the entire Filipino nation. Now that the day has given to night, it was time for me to wrap up things and start to head back. As beautiful as this park is during the day, it is really something else when it starts to glow at night, thanks at least in part to the recently built clean solar energy electric system, with a grant given by the government of Japan, being one of the number of projects that they are involved in here in the Philippines. Now I see where most of the pigeon population is hiding. This might be the biggest such birdhouse I've ever seen. A very short distance from Rizal Park is the Plaza Salamanca, which is a small beautiful park built in the memory of Olivia Salamanca, who was a physician and only the second female doctor from the Philippines to study at a women's college in the United States. Tragically, she died from tuberculosis at the age of 24 after some very notable accomplishments at trying to cure this terrible disease. Her legacy speaks of just how much she was able to achieve at such a young age. Now it was back to the train, taking the LRT from the United Nations station. I thought that I had just barely made it in on time, only to see the train halted for quite a long while, apparently because of some scheduling issues. EDSA was really the perfect stop to get off on, as this day of People Power Revolution, which was celebrating the end of the Marcos dictatorship by those who believe in democratic freedom. With totalitarian and autocratic strongmen gaining power all over the world, riding the wave of strong statements and legacy of corrupt power, we can only hope not to have a repeat of the sad legacy that the Philippines already endured just a couple of generations ago. Seeing this never stops being heartbreaking while being powerless to do anything about it. Unlike the train lines in New York or other large metropolitan cities, the separate train lines here aren't connected for an easy transfer. Here I have to go through some city traffic in order to transfer to the MRT train, which will then take me further towards my destination in BGC. This part of the commute had me going into some much larger crowds in this busy part of the city. Of course, there was a whole lot more to see, especially if you're looking to shop for street food or small accessories, similar to those that can be found in the second episode of this series, where I was exploring the streets of Antipolo. Even though it happened just hours earlier, it already seemed like it was a long time ago. Back on the Taft Avenue again, this time lining up to get on the train platform, which closes shortly after 10 p.m. Because of some lingering restrictions due to the COVID pandemic, passengers weren't allowed to get bunched up close to each other inside the train cars, so we instead were forced to get bunched up in lines and wait as the very loosely filled up trains would pick up only a small number of people at a time. I guess the logic of this system was lost on me, but I wasn't exactly about to start questioning it, especially since the guards working at the station had nothing to do with it, and likely had the same thoughts about it as I did. It doesn't pay to be fussy, especially being a foreigner. So I just smiled and listened to my music as I waited.
Alright, I made it, and this is going to be pretty much the final leg of the trip. Just a little bit more, and we're going to be home. So, yeah.
Here is where I'm using the beep card for the last time of the day. At the end of it all, I ended up using just 118 pesos or about $2.30 with this card, and roughly 250 pesos or about $5 in the jeepney, 2 buses, and 4 motorcycle rides from the start of my journey early this morning, with the last motorcycle ride being a very well-deserved 150 pesos or about $3 just by itself.
Alright, well, the road is over, and me and Mr. Moon here are going to be chilling for a little while because one of these places is where I'm going to be having dinner. But in the meantime, I'm going to be closing out this video right here. Hope you enjoyed this one. It is certainly a long one. It took me to a lot of places. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something maybe, and had a good time doing it. So if you did like it, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click on the bell icon to get notifications for my upcoming videos. Always do take care of yourselves and each other. And of course, keep looking out for more videos coming at you from the Timelapse Traveler. Bye!
This here is where my commute across Metro Manila and out into Antipolo City comes to a close. Just when you thought that my adventuring for the day is over though, there's still going to be one more bonus episode still to come, where I changed into a different outfit and went out to enjoy the night here in BGC, visiting a few different locations along the way. That you can see in the next and final episode of this Metro Manila Mega Commute Tour. I thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.